I told you the blessing you've been waiting for is already prepared, but it could slip away tonight? Many chosen ones miss their moment, not because they aren't worthy, but because they refuse to release what's holding them back. Stay with me, because tonight may decide your tomorrow. Have you ever noticed how exhausting it feels to hold on to something that's already slipping away? It's like trying to keep water in your hands. The tighter you grip, the faster it drains through your fingers. Spiritually, the same thing happens when you cling to people, memories, or situations that no longer belong in your life. Instead of protecting your blessing, you end up suffocating it before it even arrives. One of the greatest dangers of holding on too tightly is that it keeps you stuck in a cycle of resistance. Life moves in seasons, doors open and close, relationships shift, opportunities come and go. But when you refuse to let go, you fight against the natural flow of those seasons. Imagine wearing a coat in the middle of summer because you loved how warm it kept you in the winter. At one time, it served you. But if you insist on holding on, that same coat becomes a burden, weighing you down and making you uncomfortable. In real life, this looks like clinging to a friendship that has clearly lost its balance. Maybe you keep answering texts out of guilt, even though the person drains your energy. Or perhaps you replay a conversation over and over, hoping that somehow the outcome will change. The truth is, what's meant for you will never pass you by, but it also won't come in if your arms are full of yesterday's weight. Another danger is that holding on too tightly blinds you to new possibilities. Think about a child clutching a broken toy. They cry, insisting it's their favorite, even though it no longer works. But the parent knows a brand new toy is waiting to be given, if only the child would loosen their grip. Many of us live the same way, clutching broken pieces of the past, while God is waiting to place something whole, better, and perfectly timed into our lives. The most subtle danger, though, is how clinging affects your inner peace. When you refuse to release, you constantly rehearse the past and worry about the future. Your mind becomes heavy with what-ifs and if-onlys. This mental clutter clouds your intuition and drowns out the quiet voice of divine guidance. Instead of feeling light and ready to receive, you walk through life burdened, anxious, and restless. Letting go doesn't mean you stop caring. It doesn't mean the memories vanish or that the lessons no longer matter. It simply means you're choosing freedom over bondage, growth over stagnation. When you release what no longer serves you, you signal to life that you are ready for better. You open your hands, your heart, and your spirit to receive what's truly yours. And that's when the blessing, which was always waiting, finally has the space to arrive. One of the biggest traps that keeps people from stepping into their blessing is the illusion of control. We like to believe that if we plan enough, work hard enough, or hold on tightly enough, we can guarantee the outcome we want. But the truth is, control is often nothing more than a comfort blanket for fear. It makes us feel safe in the short term, yet it slowly robs us of peace and keeps us from trusting the divine flow of life. Think about the ocean. You can stand on the shore and build as many sandcastles as you want, but you cannot command the tide. You might try to block the waves with your hands or build walls around your creation, but the sea will always rise and fall on its own schedule. Life works the same way. No matter how much you try to control it, seasons will shift, people will change, and opportunities will come and go according to a timing bigger than your own. Danger of this illusion is that it tricks you into thinking effort and control are the same thing. They're not. Effort is about showing up, being diligent, and giving your best. Control is about trying to micromanage outcomes you were never meant to carry. For example, staying up at night obsessing over how someone feels about you, or trying to force a friendship or relationship to work long after its expiration date. That's control, not love. Real love allows space. Real trust in God allows surrender. Another way this illusion shows up is in our obsession with predicting the future. We plan every step, imagine every possible scenario, and convince ourselves that if we just calculate enough, we can avoid pain. But in reality, control doesn't prevent pain, it prolongs it. You hold on to jobs, relationships, and habits that should have ended long ago, thinking that leaving them will cause chaos. Ironically, it's the holding on that causes the chaos, because it blocks the blessing that was designed to replace what you're afraid to lose. Here's the powerful truth: control is not strength, it's fear dressed up as security. Real strength is in letting go, trusting that the one who aligned the stars and keeps the earth spinning is more than capable of aligning your life. You don't need to orchestrate every detail. You don't need to carry the pressure of forcing outcomes. Your job is to show up with faith. God's job is to handle the results. When you release the illusion of control, you step into peace. Instead of fighting the tide, you learn how to ride the waves. Instead of wasting energy clinging to what you cannot fix, you invest that energy in what you can do today, healing, growing, and preparing yourself for the blessings waiting to meet you. And that's the paradox. The moment you stop gripping so hard is the very moment life finally starts to move in your favor. One of the most overlooked truths about blessings is this: release always comes before increase. It's a spiritual law woven into the fabric of creation. If you look closely at nature, everything operates on this principle. Trees release their leaves in the fall to prepare for new life in the spring. The ocean releases its waves to the shore, then pulls back to gather strength for the next surge. Even your own body follows this rhythm, exhaling before inhaling, letting go of what no longer serves so that something life-giving can take its place. Spiritually, the same law applies to your destiny. To receive what is meant for you, you must be willing to let go of what is. Holding on to old attachments, outdated beliefs, or worn-out versions of yourself leaves no room for the new blessings God has prepared. Think about a closet packed full of old clothes. You may complain that you have nothing to wear, but until you clear space, nothing new can be added. The blessing isn't absent, it's simply waiting for you to create space for it. The beauty of this law is that it doesn't punish, it prepares. Release doesn't mean failure, weakness, or giving up. It's an act of alignment. Just as pruning a tree looks harsh but allows the branches to grow stronger, releasing things from your life is not about loss, it's about growth. Without release, your spiritual energy becomes crowded, heavy, and stagnant. With release, you align yourself with the flow of abundance and clarity. For chosen ones, this law often feels like a test. You might be holding on to something familiar, convincing yourself that if you let it go, you'll be left empty. But in reality, the emptiness is the blessing. The emptiness is the container that heaven is waiting to fill. If you're already full of fear, resentment, or attachment, how can joy, peace, or opportunity find its place? There's also a deeper reason why release is required. Blessings come with their own weight. Every new season demands capacity. If your heart and mind are already overloaded with yesterday's burdens, you won't have the strength to carry tomorrow's gift. God isn't withholding, He's protecting. He's saying, set that down first, so you'll have hands free to carry what I'm about to give. So when you feel the urge to cling, remind yourself of this law. Release is not the end of your story. It's the beginning of the chapter where everything you prayed for finally has permission to arrive. Trust that what you let go of is clearing the way for something far greater, something you couldn't receive if you were still holding on. That's the power of the spiritual law of release. You don't lose by letting go, you prepare to win. At the heart of every decision to hold on or let go lies a choice between two powerful forces, fear or faith. Fear whispers, if you release this, you'll lose everything. You'll be left alone with nothing to hold on to. Faith, on the other hand, speaks softly but firmly. If you release this, you'll finally be free. What's meant for you will come, and it will be greater than what you've lost. Fear thrives on uncertainty. It convinces you that clinging to the familiar, even if it hurts you, is safer than stepping into the unknown. That's why so many people stay in jobs that drain their spirit, friendships that no longer align, or habits that quietly sabotage their growth. It's not because they don't know it's time to move on. It's because fear paints the unknown as scarier than the pain of staying stuck. But here's the truth. The unknown is where blessings live. Faith doesn't need to see the whole path. It only needs to trust the next step. Think of it like walking through a dark hallway. Fear makes you freeze, worried about what you can't see. Faith encourages you to take one step forward, trusting that light will appear as you move. The blessing isn't hiding, it's waiting for you to trust enough to reach it. One of the greatest tests for chosen ones is learning to replace fear with faith in real time. Fear will show up in the form of overthinking, what-if scenarios, and anxious spirals. Faith shows up in silence, in prayer, in the calm decision to let go even when nothing visible has changed yet. Fear says, what if I fail? Faith says, even if I stumble, God has already factored that into my journey. The difference between fear and faith is also visible in how you carry yourself. Fear is heavy, it makes you cautious, tense, and restless. Faith feels lighter. It allows you to breathe, to trust, to rest in the assurance that your blessing will not pass you by. When you choose faith, you stop clinging. You open your hands and say, I trust that what's mine is already written and I don't need to force it. The beautiful thing is that every act of letting go strengthens your faith. Each time you release something you once thought you couldn't live without and realize you're still standing, your faith muscle grows. Eventually, faith becomes your default and fear loses its grip. So tonight, if you feel torn between holding on and letting go, ask yourself, am I making this choice out of fear or out of faith? The answer will reveal whether you're stepping closer to your blessing or standing in the way of it. One of the most deceptive traps chosen ones fall into is confusing attachment with love. At first glance, they may look similar. You care deeply, you give your time, you hold on tightly. But at its core, attachment is rooted in fear, while love is rooted in freedom. Love says, I want the best for you, even if it doesn't include me. Attachment says, I need you to stay close because I'm afraid of what I'll be without you. The danger here is that attachment often disguises itself as loyalty or commitment. You tell yourself, I can't let go because they need me, or I've known this person for so long, it would be wrong to walk away now. But if being around them constantly drains your energy, leaves you anxious, or makes you doubt your worth, what you're experiencing isn't love, it's bondage dressed up as devotion. Think of it this way, love nourishes, attachment depletes. Love encourages growth, attachment fears change. Love empowers you to walk in your purpose, while attachment demands you shrink to keep the bond alive. For example, a true friend will celebrate your new opportunities, even if it means you see them less. An attachment-driven friend will guilt-trip you, reminding you how much they've done for you, as if love were a debt you owe. Attachments can also form with habits, places, or even versions of yourself. Maybe you're attached to a past identity, the person you used to be before you grew, healed, or found your faith. You cling to it because it's familiar, but deep down, it no longer serves the person you're becoming. This attachment keeps you from stepping fully into the new chapter God has written for you. The hardest part about breaking attachments is that they often come with strong emotions. You may genuinely care for the person, or you may have sweet memories tied to the habit or place. But emotions don't always tell the truth. Just because something feels familiar doesn't mean it's right for your future. Many people mistake intensity for love, when in reality, it's just the emotional chaos of attachment. To recognize the difference, ask yourself, does this connection expand me or does it shrink me? Do I feel free here or do I feel trapped? Real love will never demand you compromise your peace or your purpose. Attachments will. Here's the freeing truth. You don't have to hold on to prove love. In fact, letting go may be the most loving act for yourself and for the other person. When you release attachments masquerading as love, you clear the path for real, unconditional love to enter. The kind that lifts you higher, not holds you hostage. There are moments in life when the atmosphere feels different, like the air itself is charged with meaning. Tonight is one of those moments. For chosen ones, certain seasons carry a spiritual intensity that requires decisions, and tonight is a window of release. It may look like any other night on the calendar, but spiritually, it is a crossroads. Hold on and stay stuck, or let go and step into your blessing. What makes this kind of window so powerful is its timing. Life is not random, it unfolds in patterns and seasons. Just as the ocean has tides and the moon has phases, your life has moments when the spiritual current is stronger than usual. These currents are opportunities. If you align with them, you ride the wave forward effortlessly. If you resist, you get pulled under and delayed. Tonight is such a current, a night when letting go carries extra power because the door is already open for change. Think of it like boarding a train. The train doesn't wait forever. If you're standing on the platform debating whether to carry your old baggage, you risk missing it. Once the doors close, the train moves, and your opportunity is delayed. God in His mercy may send another, but the timing is never quite the same. That's why tonight matters. It's an invitation to step on board without dragging the weight of what should have been left behind. For many chosen ones, this energetic window shows up as a nudge in the spirit, the sudden urge to cut off toxic communication, the strong feeling that enough is enough, or the realization that you've been carrying pain that isn't yours. These nudges are not random, they are signs that heaven is aligning your path, urging you to move while the timing is ripe. But here's the challenge: windows close, opportunities expire, spiritual timing is sensitive. When you sense the urgency to let go, it's not because God is trying to scare you, it's because He knows what's waiting on the other side. Refuse to act, and you stay trapped in cycles that could have ended tonight. Choose to release, and you accelerate into blessings that may have taken months or even years otherwise. The truth is, not every day carries the same weight. Some nights are ordinary, but others, like tonight, are invitations. They are thresholds, and stepping through them doesn't require fireworks or dramatic action. Sometimes it's as simple as a whispered prayer: I release what no longer serves me. I trust you with what's next. That simple act, done in the right window, can shift the entire course of your destiny. So tonight, don't miss your moment. Don't waste the energy window by clinging to what should have been surrendered long ago. The door is open, the current is flowing, and your blessing is already waiting on the other side. All that's left is your choice. One of the heaviest burdens chosen ones carry is the weight of their own past mistakes. It creeps in quietly, often at night, when your mind replays old decisions like a broken record. The words you wish you hadn't said, the opportunity you mishandled, the relationship you stayed in too long. You convince yourself that these mistakes disqualify you from your blessing. But here's the truth: your past doesn't cancel your purpose, it prepares you for it. The danger of clinging to mistakes is that they anchor you to a version of yourself that no longer exists. You keep revisiting who you were, rather than stepping fully into who you are becoming. It's like dragging old furniture into a newly built house. No matter how beautiful the home is, it feels cluttered and incomplete. When you refuse to release the weight of regret, you rob your present of peace and your future of possibility. What makes this weight so deceptive is how familiar it feels. Regret convinces you that you're being responsible by holding on to it, as if punishing yourself will somehow fix what's already done. But mistakes don't lose their power because you replay them. They lose their power because you learn from them. Growth, not guilt, is what transforms your future. Think of a sculptor carving a statue. Every chip, every strike of the chisel looks like damage at first. But step back, and you see it's not destruction, it's refinement. Your mistakes were chisels. Painful, yes, but necessary to shape you into someone with wisdom, strength, and resilience. Without them, you wouldn't be equipped to carry the blessing that's on its way. Even spiritually, your mistakes are already factored into the plan. God is not surprised by the wrong turns you took. He didn't pause His purpose the moment you stumbled. In fact, He often uses the very paths you regret to lead you into places you never would have discovered otherwise. Some of the most powerful breakthroughs are born from the lessons of your deepest failures. The problem isn't the mistake, it's your attachment to it. Carrying shame into your tomorrow blocks your hands from receiving what's meant for you. You can't hold blessings and burdens at the same time. Tonight is about choosing release, telling yourself, yes, I made mistakes, but I refuse to be defined by them. I release the weight and I step into grace. Here's the freeing truth: your blessing is not waiting for perfection, it's waiting for surrender. The moment you release the weight of past mistakes, you open the door for peace, clarity, and opportunities to flow in. You stop being a prisoner of what you did and start walking in the freedom of who you are becoming. Not every battle chosen ones face comes in the form of loud, obvious attacks. Some of the most dangerous wars are fought in silence, through distractions that look harmless on the surface, but quietly drain your focus, energy, and spiritual strength. The enemy rarely needs to destroy you outright. He only needs to keep you distracted long enough to delay your blessing. Distractions often arrive in familiar packages. It might be the sudden late-night message from someone you know you should have let go of, pulling you back into cycles you've already outgrown. It could be the urge to scroll endlessly on your phone, wasting hours that could have been invested in prayer, rest, or preparation. Sometimes, it's the unnecessary argument with a family member or friend that leaves you emotionally exhausted right before you were about to step into clarity. These aren't coincidences, they're tactics. The subtlety of distraction is what makes it so dangerous. Unlike open conflict, you don't immediately recognize it as an attack. You brush it off as just being busy or just one more call. But each small distraction chips away at your energy until, without realizing it, you have nothing left to give to what truly matters. The blessing doesn't disappear, it's simply delayed because you're too drained to recognize or receive it. Think about a runner in a marathon. If they stop every few minutes to tie their shoes, check their phone, or chat with spectators, they'll never finish the race on time, even if they were fully capable of winning. The distractions don't injure the runner, but they prevent progress. Spiritually, that's exactly how distractions work. They slow your pace, break your rhythm, and keep you from crossing the finish line of your breakthrough. For chosen ones, the silent war of distractions usually intensifies right before a blessing arrives. Why? Because that's when your focus matters most. If the enemy can't take the blessing from you, he'll try to make sure you're too tired, too entangled, or too distracted to step into it. That's why you may notice old temptations reappearing, unnecessary drama stirring up, or random interruptions pulling at your attention, especially in seasons of transition. The solution is spiritual awareness. Distractions lose their power the moment you recognize them for what they are. When you pause and ask, "Is this pulling me closer to my purpose or pulling me away from it?" the answer becomes clear. Most distractions collapse under the weight of awareness, and once you identify them, you can set boundaries, guard your focus, and protect your energy like the treasure it is. Remember, your attention is your most valuable currency. Wherever it flows, your energy follows. If you want your blessing to manifest, you must win this silent war by refusing to give distractions what they're after: your time, your peace, and your focus. One of the most freeing truths you can embrace as a chosen one is this: your blessing is not lost, hidden, or undecided. It's already prepared. Before you ever prayed, God had already written the answer into your story. Before you faced the trial, the way out was designed. Your blessing isn't trying to find you, it's waiting for you to be ready to carry it. Think of it like a package delivered to your doorstep. The delivery has already been made, but if your hands are full of bags you refuse to put down, you can't pick it up. That's what happens spiritually when you hold on to pain, fear, or toxic connections. The blessing is right there, but you're too weighed down to grasp it. Letting go isn't about earning your blessing, it's about freeing your hands so you can finally take hold of what's been waiting. The challenge is that blessings rarely arrive in the form we expect. Sometimes, you think the blessing will look like a certain person staying in your life, when in fact, the blessing is their departure making room for peace. Other times, you expect the blessing to come through one door, but God reroutes you to another. If you're clinging to your version of how it should happen, you'll miss the beauty of how it's actually unfolding. There's also a timing element. Just as fruit ripens at its appointed season, blessings manifest when the conditions are right. You wouldn't pick an apple in the middle of winter and expect it to be sweet. In the same way, God doesn't release certain blessings until your character, mindset, and spirit are prepared to sustain them. That's why release is so essential. Without letting go of the old, you'll never create the readiness required for the new. Another truth about blessings is that they carry responsibility. A promotion comes with greater pressure. A new relationship comes with greater vulnerability. A spiritual gift comes with greater accountability. If you're already exhausted from clinging to dead weight, how will you have the strength to handle the gift you've been praying for? This is why God sometimes delays, not because He is denying you, but because He's waiting for you to lay down what no longer belongs so you can carry what does. Here's the encouragement. Your blessing is closer than you think. It's not off in some distant future. It's positioned right beyond the barrier of what you're refusing to release. When you finally surrender that toxic tie, that fear, or that regret, you'll realize the blessing was never far away. It was always there, waiting for space in your life. So tonight, don't see letting go as losing. See it as unlocking. Your blessing is already delivered, already written, already waiting. The only question is, will your hands be free to receive it? Letting go isn't just about freeing yourself from one situation. It sets off a chain reaction that touches every area of your life. Think of it like throwing a stone into a still pond. The impact may seem small at first, but the ripples spread outward, reaching far beyond the point where the stone entered. Spiritually, the same happens when you release what no longer serves you. One act of release creates multiple breakthroughs. For example, imagine letting go of a draining relationship. On the surface, it may look like you're simply cutting ties with one person, but the ripple effect might include renewed confidence, improved mental health, restored energy, and even new opportunities that flow in because you're no longer weighed down by toxic energy. That one choice doesn't just free you emotionally, it repositions your entire life for growth. The same applies to letting go of old habits or beliefs. Maybe you release the belief that you're unworthy of success. Suddenly, the way you speak about yourself changes. You start applying for opportunities you once avoided, your energy shifts, and people begin to notice your light. The ripple extends into your finances, your relationships, and your sense of purpose. One internal shift sparks transformation in external areas you never expected. This ripple effect also works spiritually. When you release a burden, you create space for divine alignment. God often waits for you to set down what's broken before placing something whole in your hands. And when you finally let go, the blessing that arrives doesn't just affect you, it impacts the people connected to you. Your courage to release can inspire your family, heal generational cycles, or open doors for others who are watching your journey. What's even more powerful is that the ripple often grows in ways you can't predict. You may not see immediate results, but over time, your act of surrender changes the entire trajectory of your life. Letting go of a job that no longer served you might lead to unexpected friendships, a new career path, or even a spiritual awakening you never would have found otherwise. The release was the spark. The blessings were the waves that followed. The key is to trust that release always multiplies blessings, even if you don't see the full picture yet. Just like a seed planted in the ground seems to disappear before it grows, your act of letting go may feel like loss in the moment. But give it time, and you'll see how that single act sets in motion a harvest of peace, opportunities, and breakthroughs. So when you hesitate to release, remind yourself, this isn't just about what you're losing, it's about everything you're gaining. The ripple effect of letting go is bigger than you imagine, and once it begins, there's no limit to how far those waves can carry you. One of the hardest parts of letting go is that, at first, nothing seems to change. You release the relationship, the habit, or the burden, and then silence. No immediate reward, no sudden breakthrough, no visible confirmation that you made the right choice. This is where many chosen ones stumble, because the blessing often begins in the unseen before it manifests in the visible. Trusting the unseen is about holding faith when your eyes can't yet verify what your heart knows is true. Think of a farmer planting seeds. When he covers them with soil, it looks as though nothing is happening. If he were impatient, he might dig them back up, doubting whether they'd grow. But beneath the surface, roots are forming, foundations are being set, and life is preparing to break through. In the same way, when you release, the shift begins immediately, but often underground where you can't see it yet. This is where trust becomes essential. Trust says, even though I don't see the blessing yet, I know it's already on the way. Without trust, you'll be tempted to run back to what you just let go of, simply because it feels safer than waiting. Many blessings are missed not because they were denied, but because impatience pulled people back into cycles that had already been broken. Another layer of trusting the unseen is learning to separate timing from absence. Just because your blessing hasn't shown up yet doesn't mean it isn't coming. Rain doesn't fall the moment a cloud appears, it gathers, builds, and releases at the appointed time. In the same way, your blessing is gathering in the unseen. Trust keeps you steady until it's revealed. Trusting the unseen also means accepting that you won't always get signs or explanations. Sometimes, you won't know why a door closed until years later, when you look back and realize it protected you from something you didn't even see. Other times, the loss you mourned was actually the pivot that positioned you exactly where you needed to be. Hindsight reveals what faith believed all along, that unseen alignment was working in your favor. The gift of this kind of trust is peace. Instead of living in constant anxiety, wondering if you made the wrong choice, you rest in the confidence that what's yours cannot pass you by. You stop forcing, stop chasing, and instead allow blessings to find you in their perfect time. So if you've released something and nothing visible has shifted yet, don't panic. Don't assume silence means absence. Trust that beneath the surface, roots are forming, blessings are aligning, and your future is already unfolding. Faith is not about what you can see, it's about what you're willing to believe, even when your eyes are still waiting for proof. Have you ever noticed that when you're at peace, opportunities seem to find you more easily? Doors open, connections appear, and things fall into place with little effort. That's the power of spiritual alignment. It's not about chasing blessings, it's about matching your energy to the frequency of what you've been praying for. When you align yourself with peace, faith, and readiness, the blessing naturally flows toward you. Alignment begins with your inner state. If your heart is heavy with resentment, fear, or attachment, it creates static that repels what's meant for you. Imagine tuning a radio. If you're slightly off the right frequency, the music is drowned out by noise. But the moment you adjust to the exact channel, clarity rushes in. Spiritually, the same principle applies. Blessings have their own frequency. You can't tune into them if you're weighed down by what you refuse to release. For example, someone praying for a healthy relationship but still clinging to the pain of a toxic ex isn't aligned yet. They may meet potential partners, but the energy of bitterness will keep sabotaging the connection. The blessing of love isn't absent, it's waiting for them to align with forgiveness, healing, and openness. Only then can the new relationship settle into place. Alignment is also about integrity, living in harmony with your values and purpose. When your actions contradict your spirit, you create friction that delays your blessing. But when your words, choices, and energy all move in the same direction, you create a clear pathway for blessings to arrive. It's like clearing clutter from a hallway. Suddenly, there's nothing blocking the flow. Another key part of alignment is rest. Many chosen ones think they need to struggle, hustle, or force outcomes to prove they're worthy. But spiritual alignment doesn't demand exhaustion, it demands trust. When you let go of the frantic need to control and instead step into a state of calm readiness, you send a signal to the universe. I'm prepared, I'm available, I trust. That kind of alignment pulls blessings in like a magnet. The beauty of spiritual alignment is that it shifts not only what you receive, but how you perceive. You stop chasing things that were never yours and begin to notice doors that were always open but overlooked. You begin to attract people and opportunities that match the peace and clarity within you. And when the blessing finally arrives, it feels natural, not forced, because your spirit was already aligned with it. So ask yourself, is my inner state aligned with what I'm asking for? Am I carrying the peace, faith, and readiness that match the blessing I desire? If the answer is no, that's not a reason for shame, it's an invitation. Tonight is the perfect time to realign, because when your spirit and your blessing are on the same frequency, nothing can keep them apart. Many people say they've let go, but deep down, the attachment is still alive. The danger of hidden attachments is that they quietly block your blessing without you even realizing it. You may think you've released someone, a memory, or a season, but your daily actions often reveal the truth. Recognizing these signs is the first step toward true freedom. One of the most obvious signs is replaying old conversations in your mind. You find yourself thinking about what you should have said, or imagining how things could have turned out differently. Even if the person is no longer in your life, your mental energy is still tied to them. That mental replay is a sign you haven't fully released. Another sign is checking up on someone, even in subtle ways. Maybe you scroll through their social media, ask mutual friends about them, or secretly compare your life to theirs. It may feel harmless, but it keeps your heart tethered to the past. True release means you no longer need to monitor their journey to feel secure in your own. Sometimes the sign is emotional rather than behavioral. If you still feel a strong wave of anger, bitterness, or sadness every time that person's name comes up, that's a signal of lingering attachment. Healing doesn't mean you forget or that it never hurts, but release transforms the sting into wisdom. If the wound feels as raw as the day it happened, your blessing may still be waiting for you to finally set it down. Another subtle sign is waiting for closure. You tell yourself, I'll move on when they apologize, or I'll release this once I get answers. But closure rarely comes the way you expect. True closure is something you give yourself, not something another person hands to you. If you're still waiting on them, you're still holding on. Hidden attachments also reveal themselves in your choices. Maybe you avoid opportunities because they remind you of someone from your past, or you sabotage new relationships because you're still measuring them against old ones. These patterns show that while your words say, I've let go, your actions say otherwise. Here's the key truth. Letting go is not just about what you say or even what you feel in the moment. It's about what you consistently choose. When you've truly released, your focus shifts forward. You no longer chase the past or rehearse its story. Instead, you carry its lessons while walking confidently into your next chapter. So ask yourself honestly, Am I still replaying, checking, waiting, or comparing? If so, it's not a reason for guilt. It's simply an invitation to dig deeper. The blessing waiting for you requires space, and tonight is your chance to clear it. The sooner you recognize the signs, the sooner you can finally step into freedom. Letting go is not just an idea, it's an action. And the truth is, release doesn't have to take months or years. Sometimes it's a decision you make in a single night, a conscious choice to surrender what's been weighing you down. Tonight can be that night, but the question is, how? The first step is acknowledgement. You can't release what you're still denying. Be honest with yourself about what or who you've been holding onto. Write it down in a journal, say it aloud in prayer, or simply admit it in the quiet of your heart. Awareness is powerful because it brings clarity. The second step is forgiveness. This includes others, but also yourself. Maybe someone hurt you, or maybe you hurt yourself through poor choices. Either way, forgiveness is the key that unlocks the chains of attachment. Forgiveness doesn't mean excusing the pain or pretending it didn't matter. It means choosing not to carry it anymore. The third step is surrendering control. Release the need for closure, the need for explanations, and the need to know exactly what's next. Pray something as simple as, "God, I place this situation in your hands. I trust you to handle what I cannot." That act of surrender transfers the weight off your shoulders and onto the one strong enough to carry it. The fourth step is creating boundaries. Release is not complete if you leave the door wide open for the same cycle to return. That might mean blocking a number, deleting old messages, or saying no to situations that reopen wounds. Boundaries aren't cruelty, they're protection for your healing space. The fifth step is filling the space you've cleared. Nature abhors a vacuum, and so does the spirit. If you release without replacing, old patterns will sneak back in. Replace toxic ties with practices that nurture your soul: prayer, meditation, reading, creative expression, or surrounding yourself with supportive people who lift you higher. Finally, the sixth step is affirmation. Speak life over yourself. Declare, "I am free, I am ready, I am worthy of the blessing waiting for me." Words carry power, and affirming release seals it into your spirit. Here's the beauty of doing this tonight. Small actions in moments of alignment carry extraordinary weight. A prayer whispered with sincerity, a journal entry written with tears, or a single decision to cut ties can set your entire destiny on a new trajectory. So if you've been carrying something too heavy for too long, make tonight the night you let it go. Not tomorrow, not someday, tonight. Because the blessing you've been praying for is already waiting. It just needs you to finally make room.